do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Let me say good morning and welcome to the Counter Radio Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I'm your co-host, Mr. Bobby. The show is also called the CRCS for short. And the number to get in contact with the show is 516-453-9921. Or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY at gmail.com. And I will hopefully get a chance to read your Gmails. By the way, if you call that number, make sure that after you dial the number or whatever you do, then press the number 1 button on your phone, and you will go in sequence or a rotation that will get your call or question expedited. So make sure you do that. Press the number 1 after you dial the number. Okay. It is 9:01 here in the eastern part of the concept called the United States of America, 6:01 in the Pacific. Glad we're not living in Russia. They have 11 time zones. Can you imagine that? But anyway, we are here. Live from Washington, D.C. is Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Before we get into the questions and the calls, Mr. Fuller, I've been noticing that it seems that most of the nation is under they call it a quarantine due to the coronavirus. But as I was thinking this week and a few others that I communicate with, this seems so much similar to confinement, not greater confinement. And I was wondering your thoughts on what we are as a quote unquote nation going through.
Well, my thoughts is this is an opportunity for each person to self-train in being the quality person that all people should be. And that's totally constructive in everything, including every thought, every spoken word, and in every act that you take. And keep in mind what we need between all the people of this entire planet, and what was needed in the first place and should have continued that way in the first place, and that is a quality relationship between every person that encounters another person. You want a full quality relationship, meaning every move that you make, every interaction that you make with every other person on the planet be productive of a constructive result. And this is the time, this is an opportunity, really, if people are so-called shut in, wherever they happen to be, regardless of whether they call it confinement or, distancing from each other. This is, it's a tragic opportunity, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for people to really reflect on what is important and what is not important. I mean, because we've been inundated from the time that we are born with just so much this and that and the other, and run here and run there and breakneck speed here and got to do this and got to do that. We maybe don't have to do as many things as we think we do. We're overloaded with just, you got to be involved in this. You got to get yourself involved in that. in order to do what? Ultimately, what does it mostly amount to? And that's something that should be learned early, rather than sometimes people say that as people get older, they get wiser or something like that. Not necessarily so, but sometimes as you're in your waning years, then you begin to sort out for the first time the difference between a whole lot of noise about nothing and what is really important. But that should happen right from the time you're born and continue the whole time you're on the planet, breathing in and breathing out. That being able to, like a lightning speed computer, everybody's mind should be immediately going to what is important and what isn't, what is constructive and what isn't, and always lock on like a laser that which is of constructive value. And some people might say, well, but that takes all the joy out of it. And see, that's propaganda. That's something that people have been taught by people who believe in just making misery exciting and non-boring. I mean, manufacturing things that will make people all distraught and run into psychiatrists and all this nonsense, trying to straighten out your thinking, because it all comes from the way people think. People think before they act, one way or another, constructively or non-constructively. So if we just start out thinking in a constructive manner and given an opportunity, maybe sometimes for the first time doing that, because that's what happens when some people are sent to what we call greater confinement, what we call prison, incarceration, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes, particularly among black people, that's the first opportunity they have ever really had to sit down quietly and do some thinking about everything, because they are born under circumstances, many people are born under circumstances where everything is just totally chaotic going on around them. From little babies, all they see is a whole lot of anger and a whole lot of people throwing things and shots being fired and glass breaking and just things just being a complete mess. And they are born right in the middle of it. And they're always on that fast treadmill, out of breath, trying to run here, run there, do this, do that. So it's when they get locked up and sitting in a solitary cell, sometimes at age 30, a person might for the first time say, you know what, this is the only time I've really had time to think about anything. I've always had to, run from the, try to catch the bus, or get off the bus before somebody shot me on the bus. And then after I get off the bus, I have to outrun some gang and run through their territory. And I've been that way since a teenager, and it's only when I got locked up that I had time to really think about anything, about my entire existence on this planet. And it's under very unfortunate circumstances. Now, a lot of people can say that truthfully. Mm-hmm. And so now, in answer to your question, this is an opportunity, since we're kind of in what they call lockdown. Mm-hmm. This might be a chance to say, how can I, when this is finally lifted, if I survive it, become a quality person, meaning every move that I make is going to be constructive. And I'm not going to have a non-constructive conversation with anybody. I'll just find a reason.